Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/EntitledPeople Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Neighbor's landlord harasses me over my trash cans, so I exposed her to her tenants, causing them to move out. After that, am I the jerk for leaving my best friend and his friends stranded in an unfamiliar city? And after that, I kicked my neighbors off my property after they refused to speak to my wife. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to harass her neighbors over their trash cans. If the HOA won't handle you, I will. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Neighbor's landlord harasses me over my trash cans, so I exposed her to her tenants, causing them to move out. My kids and I moved into our house in March. On day 2 in my new house, I tripped on a broken paver stone in the yard. I had to have surgery and a 3-day hospital stay and stay in a full leg brace for 2 weeks after that. When I got home, my partner, Martin, dad, sister, bestie, and her wife had formed an emergency team. Between them, they'd kept the kids and pets safe and fed and finished the unpacking. Martin and dad removed the broken paver stone and laid old fence posts along the fence where next door's dog was digging through. Week 1, I hobbled to the letterbox and met next door's landlord. She immediately told me to bring my trash bins in by 9 a.m. because it made the street look messy. She demanded I move the fence posts because the grass would grow through to her side. I explained the reason for the posts and said that once the holes were filled in, let me know and I would move them. And hello to you too. Week 1, trash day, 9:10 a.m. Landlord banged on my door. I'm still in my pajamas and leg brace. The landlord complained about the trash bins again. I said my bestie is coming by later to help me get dressed. I couldn't do feet. I'd bring the bins in later. When bestie pulled up, she had to park out front because my bins were in the driveway. Next, Martin got temporary approval to work from home at my place. I got home and Martin was escorting the landlord off the property. The neighbor's landlord thought nobody was home and tried to sneak in to move the posts. Martin said next time he'll call the police. A few weeks ago, the police arrived. Martin was at work and said a concerned neighbor called about a couple fighting and the man was destroying the fence. Landlord is out front watching. Once the cops are satisfied and see that there's nothing wrong, I explain about last week and I show them the security footage. Later, I see them speaking with the neighbor landlord. She isn't happy and she goes back inside. Then the penny dropped. Neighbor's landlord let herself in while her tenants were at work, so I spoke to her tenants and I was blunt. I asked if they were okay with their landlord being in the house while they were out and said I had seen her there at least once a week. In a nutshell, they were not okay with that. Later, one of the guys came around with a box full of cookies, thanked me, and said they were moving out right away. Neighbor landlord is now furious. She says I'm the jerk because I made her tenants leave, and I'm the jerk because I make the street look messy and I hang clothes on a clothesline, so how will she find new tenants? I told her to get off my lawn. Honestly, I'm torn, but I feel I'm not the jerk because I was just letting the tenants know that she visited while they were out. But I feel I could be the jerk since I was working nights and the police visit took up a lot of my sleep time, so I retaliated, and I felt pretty smugly satisfied when her tenants left. Not the jerk, she's a terrible, morally corrupt landlord and a busybody neighbor. You didn't drive her tenants away, her behavior did. Am I the jerk for leaving my best friend and his friends stranded in an unfamiliar city? So for background, my best friend has gotten into going to these Spartan races. He and a small group of his friends have started going to local ones, but recently heard about one in another state they wanted to go to and compete in, but they didn't have anywhere to stay. So they asked me if they could borrow my truck and trailer. I have a tow-behind camper for the weekend. I said no, I wasn't comfortable with them taking my truck and trailer, but that I'd drive them and the camper to their event. We made the 3-hour trip and set everything up in the area where the race was taking place the next day. I have a habit of leaving my keys on a hook next to the door to my bedroom in my camper. Remember this. Come nightfall, I went to take a phone call outside and ended up wandering around the grounds for over an hour. When I got back to the camper, the door was locked, and I was told by my best friend's older friend through the window that there wasn't enough room for me in my trailer. So I reached for my keys to unlock the door, but realized I had left them inside the camper on the hook in my room. So I called my best friend from outside, and all I was told was, "Sorry bro, nothing I can do." So I ended up sleeping in my truck that night, which I had fortunately left unlocked by accident. Their race began at 8 a.m., and at 7, they came meandering out of the trailer and woke me up. No apology, by the way. So while they were in their race, I hooked my truck back up to the trailer, closed and locked everything, and waited until just after they finished and had started walking back to the trailer. Think really wide open field. When I saw them coming, I started the truck and drove off the property with them chasing behind. I made the 3-hour trip back home, declining call after call. When I finally got home, I finally took my best friend's call. He started yelling at me saying, "Why would you do this? We have no way home now." I just said, "Sorry, you shouldn't have made me sleep in my truck after I did you this favor." He told me that there were better ways to handle this than by leaving them in an unfamiliar city with no way home. I think he ended up calling his dad to come and get them. Is he right? Was there a better way to handle this? I felt justified until he said that. I am kind of doubting my decision now. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. They're Spartan warriors, right? They should run home. Not the jerk. Was there a more adult way to deal with this? Definitely. Did they deserve to be treated like adults after the disrespectful and childish stunt they pulled? No. Forget those guys. They got what they deserved. Was there a more adult way to handle this? I'm legitimately torn on this. I'm not convinced there's a way OP could have handled this which would have taught these jerks a lesson or been better all told. Anything less than this would have likely led to these jerks feeling they got away with their behavior and wouldn't think twice about doing it again, if not to OP, then to someone else. Adults need adult consequences, and I'm not certain anything less than this would have been a true consequence for them. Not the jerk. Who tells someone they can't sleep in their own camper? He's not your best friend. I'm just really confused what these people's thought process was. They really thought they'd lock you out of your own camper and you'd smile and drive them all home? Was it harsh? Yes. Did they deserve it? Also yes. They're grown. They can find their own way home. Not the jerk. OP. I've been trying to practice the mental gymnastics it takes to come to that conclusion as well in my own head, and I just can't do it. I kicked my neighbors off my property after they refused to speak to my wife. I'm 36, male. My wife, Lex, is 33, female. She's a middle school teacher. I work as a financial consultant. We make decent money, and a few months ago we purchased our first house together. Our neighbor, Ryan, who's in his 40s, lives across the street with his wife and kid, who's 2. He's been very friendly and comes over to chat all the time, including a couple days ago while I was working on my car. He stayed for maybe 30 minutes and then left, as usual. Later, before bed, Lex asked me if I ever noticed that Ryan does not speak to her. I said I had no idea what she was talking about, and she said he will only talk to me and not her. That she noticed none of our neighbors address her, and that their wives never come with them. I thought she was exaggerating, and she said forget it. So I did, until yesterday. Ryan and another neighbor, Frank, who's in his 40s, were walking towards us while we were doing yard work. I watched as they walked past Lex, who waved at them and said hi, to come talk to me. This time, I did notice that they didn't acknowledge her. When they came up, I said hi and we started chatting. When Lex went back inside for a minute, I asked why they didn't wave at her or respond. They claimed they didn't notice her, and I asked how they could not, that she was less than a foot away from them when they walked past. Frank joked that his fiancé says he can only hear voices under a certain timbre, and maybe that's why. Ryan laughed, but I didn't. I asked him to acknowledge Lex when she addressed them. He said it's not that big of a deal, and Frank agreed. I said it was to me. Ryan suggested that Lex should go hang out with his wife so we could hang out and she didn't feel ignored. I said it's not about hanging out, but just common courtesy, that they were on our property and should acknowledge her. Ryan said that he felt no need to talk to Lex because I was his buddy. Frank agreed and said, "Besides, teachers tend to be no fun. Mine were annoying as heck," and they both laughed. So I told them to get off my property. They told me they were kidding and to learn to take a joke, but I insisted they leave. They did with a couple of apologies, though they didn't sound super sincere. I haven't told Lex what happened yet. I will when we go to lunch today. But this morning, we were touching up our flower bed when another neighbor, Ben, who's in his 30s, came over and told me that Ryan and Frank were saying I was being a jerk. Lex wasn't around to hear this as she was watering the flowers in the back of the house. He said it was a bit offensive, but that they're good people and were kidding, and I should go make things right as to not disturb the peaceful neighborhood. But I don't think I should. Am I the jerk? To be clear, none of the conversation involved any yelling or anything. But we just moved here, and I might have put us in a bad spot. Edit. Everyone, including myself, is white, except for my wife, who is black. I didn't think that was all that relevant, as Ryan's wife is Vietnamese. Not the jerk. Good people don't ignore people for zero reason. Not the jerk. They're super rude on many levels. Good job having your wife's back instead of telling her to get over it like so many people do. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his neighbors? Please let us know. If they can't show your wife some respect, they have no business on your property. You're capping commissions on our most in-demand vehicles? Fine, let's see how that works out for you. I realize that this story could absolutely be current, but it's not. Another thread reminded me of it, and I think it absolutely fits here. So here goes. Back in 2014, I was selling cars, Ford specifically. For all those who aren't car buffs, both the Mustang and F-150 were getting ground-up redesigns for 2015, and Ford had just announced that there would be no Shelby Mustangs or Raptor F-150s for 2015. Instantly, we were fielding several calls a day about these vehicles, and almost overnight, the inventory we had came with a $10,000 to $20,000 market adjustment due to demand. Our GM loved both vehicles and traded for them whenever he could because he loved chatting about them with buyers. So we had 21 Raptors and 6 Shelbys still on the lot when I sold a ruby red Raptor extended cab at $10,000 over sticker the last week of the month. Both are crazy numbers for the less than 200 new cars we sold per month. With the trade, I was due about $4,200 in commission, but my check was about $1,700 light. Come the first Saturday morning meeting after payday, we were told that commissions on such vehicles would be capped at $2,500, retro to last month, per a previously ignored provision in our pay plan. There was much grumbling, but management stood firm, citing how incredibly easy Raptor and Shelby deals were. They weren't wrong about that. There was no such thing as a test drive until the deal was done. You could absolutely drive the car before you bought it, but only after we had a signed buyer's order, credit app, and the deal had been submitted and approved. They were generally in and out in under 45 minutes, if not half an hour. But still, dealership gets free money and doesn't want to share? Cue malicious compliance. I talked to several other salespeople who were all upset. I whipped up a little Excel macro/widget that would take the invoice price and holdback, add in pack and whatnot, and spit out a sales price that would produce an exactly $2,500 commission. I sent it to every salesperson we had, and everyone used it. It only took 3 signed buyer's orders with seemingly arbitrary numbers for the desk to figure out what we were doing and to call another meeting. That meeting was basically management yelling at us and the entire sales staff calmly saying, "Remove the cap or you'll never see another signed buyer's order that exceeds it. Forget you." The cap was lifted 3 days later. Am I the jerk for not allowing an older man to tour my home, even though it was the home he had grown up in? I'm a 28-year-old woman. My husband is 31, and we recently had our first kid together, a boy who's now about to be 8 months old. We've just found out that we are expecting our second. We also recently moved a few states over for my husband's work. We moved to a town that's a bit of a cross between an old small town and a suburb, and we ended up buying an older house. A few weeks ago, we were still getting settled in. I was working on unpacking while my son was taking his afternoon nap when I heard the doorbell. I answered the front door and saw an older man, probably mid-60s, with his granddaughters, who were probably around 10 years old, standing on my front porch. "Hello," he said. "I'm really sorry to drop in on you like this. My name is Guy, and these are my 2 granddaughters. This was the first house I ever lived in, and I lived here until I was 12 years old. I've always missed this place, and I just want to see it one last time, and also show it to the grandkids since I've been boring them with stories about this place their entire lives. I don't mean to impose, but I notice you just moved in here. So would it be asking too much to just let us walk around through here one time? We'll be gone within 30 minutes, I promise." Okay, now, I don't know this man. Admittedly, he looked completely non-threatening. Short, bald, chubby, and with a pleasant expression. But still, I was a pregnant woman home alone with my baby. Based on that, I told him, "Geez, I'm sorry, but no. I'm just not comfortable with strangers going through my house right now." He answered, "I completely understand, but we really won't be a bother. We won't touch anything and we'll be gone soon. I know this is an odd request, but it really would mean a lot to me if you just let me in for a little bit." I answered, "No, sorry, I can't do that. This is my home and I won't let a stranger in without a good reason. Please leave." He said, "I think giving an aging man one last visit to his childhood home is a good reason, but okay, can't force you." He then left. Later that evening, when my husband got home, I told him about the weird encounter. He told me that I should have just let the man look at the place. He said that we all get nostalgic about the places we grew up in, and that it would have been a nice gesture to let this man see his childhood home. He also said that I likely just fostered bad will among my new townmates. But I think that my comfort and safety, as well as the safety of my kid, is more important than some random person's reminiscing. Well, what would you have done in this situation? Would you have let him walk around your house or not? Please let us know. I would have said now's not a good time, but leave your phone number and we'll contact you later. Am I the jerk for forcing my son to get along with his stepfather? I have 3 kids, twins who are 23, Ella and Steven, and John, who's 17. John was the result of me cheating on Ella and Steven's father, Rob, with John's father, Harry. Harry ran away after he found out that I was pregnant. Rob found out about the affair 3 years later. The kids were still young, so we didn't tell them the truth about why we divorced at the time. Rob still loved John and cared for him, which surprises me considering John isn't his biological son. Harry came back into contact with me when John was 10, and although I was a little bitter, I eventually forgave him and we fell in love and got married. The kids didn't dislike Harry, but they weren't close with him, which in John's case, it hurt Harry since he was John's real father. It became bad when John was 16. Harry wanted to do something with John, but John said no. Harry snapped and said that they never spend time as father and son, which caused John to say, "Look, I don't hate you or anything, but I don't see you as my dad, so stop trying to force me to see you as my dad. I have a dad and he's not you." I couldn't take it anymore, and I asked John if he would be saying that if Harry was really his father. John looked confused, and it was then that I told him the truth and that his behavior was hurting Harry. That caused John to cry and he ran to his room. Ella went to comfort him, and Stephen glared at me and said, "I hope you're happy. You broke that poor kid because of your hurt feelings." It's been a year since then, and I think my kids forgive me, but still aren't close with Harry. Recently, it was Harry's birthday, and he wanted me and John to spend it with him. John, however, decided that he wanted to watch a movie with his friend. I told him that Harry wants to spend time with him. He said that he's going anyway, and that I'm free to ground him when he gets back. When John got back, I told him that his behavior towards Harry is horrible. He told me that he's nice to Harry, but that Rob is his dad. I asked him what was the point of telling him the truth if he was just going to be like this. He snapped, "Don't act like you told me the truth for my sake. You told me the truth out of spite and jealousy, because I wouldn't see your affair partner as my dad. And to be frank, your little plan didn't work." And he went to his room. My older kids got wind of what happened, and they called to berate me and told me to stop pushing John to love Harry. I told them I get that John loves Rob, but Harry is his blood father. Ella told me I'm wrong, that Rob is the one who raised John, therefore Rob is his father. Stephen said he's going to rescue his bro the minute he turns 18, which is in a few weeks. I tried to get Rob to talk to John, but he said he wasn't forcing his son to love Harry. I just don't understand. Am I really wrong for wanting my son to love his biological father? Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. Your son basically summarized what you did right there. It's exactly what you did. Even ignoring that you're the jerk, you cheat on a guy and he accepts it and sticks with you for the whole time, and the first chance you get, you ditch him for the man who ditched you for 10 years. Harry ain't their father in any sense. Sad that her 17-year-old is so much more mature than her and could understand this concept and see directly through her real motives. I probably wouldn't love my real dad much if he left me for 10 years and everyone led me to believe someone else was my dad that whole time. Not sure how anyone can expect John to flip the switch like that was nothing. Harry is nothing more than a donor, and John is lucky he had Rob to be a real father. You're the jerk. Also, the audacity of Harry to knock up a married woman, break up her family, bounce for a decade while another man raised his kid, then bounce back whenever he felt like it, being all like, "Hi, random 10-year-old that I've never met. I'm the one who got your mom pregnant and broke your dad's heart. Why don't you love me?" The mom was obviously fully complicit in all of that, and she's just as much of a jerk. But I just wanted to take a moment to focus on Harry's unmitigated ego to think he deserved even a moment of his biological son's attention. Am I the jerk for telling my husband that unless he does something worthwhile around here, he has no say what I want around me? My husband got a dog 2 years ago. Originally, I said it was fine. I have no problem with dogs, never had one, but told him from day one that we would be getting proper training. He agreed. He got the dog. From the moment he got the dog until now, 2 years later, he has outright refused to train the dog, refused any training from a specialist as well. I have tried training the dog myself, but I have no idea what I'm doing. In the beginning, I miraculously was able to train the dog to not get into the garbage, listen to basic commands, no, sit, stop, go, etc. But within 2 months of that, my husband basically ruined everything. Started giving her treats when she had done nothing, as in would give her treats if he said paw, even if she didn't do the trick, and say good girl again, despite her not doing it, giving her treats when she was anxious and acting weird, giving her treats for going to the bathroom, etc. So now she just expects treats for everything. She will not do anything with a treat or without it if I'm being honest. She now gets in the trash again because he gives her table scraps. All my efforts are destroyed. Everything I taught her is gone. She won't even lay down on command anymore and instead just crawls to you every single time. Now I'm the one who deals with all the house chores and cooking. I have an income of roughly $1,100 a month, but he works much more than I do, longer hours. So yeah, I'm in charge of basically absolutely everything at home. Well, today I had a great day. I cleaned every single room, including the kids, did all the laundry and put all of it away. Yay me. Didn't let a single dish sit in the sink unwashed, even mopped all the floors. This doesn't happen often. Well, I make a bomb dinner that everyone has thirds of, and when I go to eat my portion after the food is cold, because I'm a mom and a wife, the dog jumps up in my lap and knocks the food off and proceeds to eat all of it. Now there wasn't enough food for me to eat any dinner. So I'm upset. This is an ongoing issue. Doesn't matter how much I try to train this dog. I literally try every single day. My husband doesn't back me up on it and it goes unnoticed. So I go to the deck to get some space. Well, he comes out and starts asking me what's wrong, and the dog is right behind him trotting up to me and trying to jump on me. I say very loudly to go inside, to the dog, and vocalize that I don't want the dog near me. My husband flips, says I'm being a jerk. I told him that until he starts doing something around the house that warrants not eating and worth noting, he has no say in what or who I want around me. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, but your husband is. Does he have any redeeming features? Husband, that is? Why does it feel your husband is weaponizing incompetence in training his dog? OP. Because he 100% is. Same with cleaning and cooking. He can do all this stuff, but chooses not to because he's tired or doesn't do it as good as I do. Honestly, you might be better off separated or divorced. I mean, he's a good-for-nothing bum that leeches you. Tell him either to stop pretending to be an incompetent bum and do something about the dog and clean around the house, or get divorced. Wouldn't be a Reddit Stories video without commenters telling you to get divorced. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. I worked here 6 months ago. In the times before a personal issue happened in November, I, 17 female, worked at a local hobby store named after an archangel. I stocked shelves, cleaned up after people, tried all the markers on anything nearby, and would leave them in whatever cubby that was in reach. And I would cashier a few nights a week, making the big money to afford my daily girly needs. I quit working there because of the personal issue. This past Monday, I went in there to get some art supplies for a project the therapist recommended and to see how I feel about going back out into the world. I was dressed in a large black baggy hoodie and baggy sweats, nothing like an employee. My earbuds were in but not on. They dull the noise but don't completely make it silent. I heard the click, click, click of someone wearing heels, a distinctive sound. The sound stopped and I could see a shadow darken me as I looked at drawing pads. My heart started speeding up and I was beginning to sweat. Then she said those words, "Excuse me?" It wasn't dripping with contempt yet. "Yes," I said back. "Where are those little painting cups to paint the porcelain Christmas villages?" She did ask nicely. I tell her I don't know, and she got mad. "You do know where they are, so where are they?" I step back and begin to shake. "I don't know. I don't work here." "Yes, you do. You helped me find stuff last Halloween. Quit lying to me and tell me where the paints are." I begin to have a panic attack. It's been 6 months since I worked here, and the store's been rearranged. "Oh my God, you kids are so lazy. You think because there's a worker shortage, you can just do what you want and not get fired for mouthing off to customers? I'll show you how wrong you are when I get your manager and get you fired." I drop the supplies I was holding and turn to leave. I'm not crying. I just want to be away from this crazy lady. Then she grabs me. As I'm spun to face her again, she shoves her finger in my face, and the screeching is piercing even with the headphones on, and things went to black. When I came back to reality, I was being checked on by paramedics. A few police officers were standing around with the lady in handcuffs screeching, "I didn't do anything to her. She's just crazy. I can't believe this place hires crazy jerks." I ended up going to the hospital. The lady is being charged with assault. I'll find out more in the future since this is just a few days old. What happened to me? I read the statements from the police report and from what a few former coworkers told me. When she grabbed me, I fell to the ground, going into the fetal position, whimpering that I don't work here, I don't work here, I don't work here. Some customers saw what was going on and got the manager. Someone else called 911. The lady just stood there with her mouth fish gaping and repeating, "I didn't touch her." After a night in the hospital, a visit with my therapist, I'm home and waiting for a delivery from Amazon with the supplies I went to get. I'm glad the world is homebound friendly these days. As someone with anxiety that makes it difficult to go out sometimes, I know how hard it is to put yourself in those situations, but I am proud of you for trying. Am I the jerk for not helping my girlfriend replace her broken dishes and cups? My girlfriend, who's 28, and I, whom 26, have been together for a year and a half. We don't live together, but we do spend the night at each other's places often. My girlfriend has a bad habit of leaving her kitchen drawers and cabinets open after she gets something out of them. She also has a 9-month-old kitten that is in that stage where he's climbing into and getting into everything. I've told her multiple times she's got to watch him better and make sure he can't get into places he shouldn't be. Also train him so he won't get up and into things he shouldn't. She argues you can't train a cat, but I beg to differ. My cat was trained to stay off the counter and even to not scratch furniture. I was going to spend the weekend with her, and last night we go to bed. We got woken up in the middle of the night by a loud crash that sounded like stuff breaking. I got up to go look and see. She had left the cabinet door open yet again, and the kitten got into it. The liners were pulled out, and half the contents were in pieces on the floor and counter. I find Kitty first hiding behind the garbage can. He's fine and not hurt, just spooked. She comes out, finds out what happened, we clean it up and go back to bed. Now she has to replace a bunch of stuff. Our first disagreement came because she wanted me to drive her around town to 4 different stores to find stuff. I told her no. If she really wanted to do that, we were taking her car. She didn't want to drive, so we agreed on 2 stores. We get to the first one and she gets everything she wants from there. Get to the checkout and she goes, "How much are you putting towards it?" I told her none. We stepped out of line to discuss it and she got angry with me. I told her, 1, she didn't even ask my input or opinion about anything. 2nd, the stuff was broken because of her decisions, so replacing it all should be her responsibility anyway. 3rd, if she expected me to help her pay, she should have brought it up long before we got to the store. We argued about it, and she just left her cart there and told me to take her home. She'll order some online and just use paper plates and cups until it arrives. I took her home, and she told me to get my stuff and leave. She's already making posts on Facebook about having a boyfriend that won't take care of her or help her out. Some friends have found out, and my sister too. My sister, some friends, and obviously my girlfriend think I'm the jerk for not helping her with paying and going everywhere she wanted. I don't think I did anything wrong here though. Am I the jerk? Edit. So for all the questions about the driving, I'm not her chauffeur. I don't mind driving her around once in a while, but quite literally, every time she wants to do hours of shopping or errands that involves driving all over, she suddenly doesn't want to drive and always insists on us going together and taking my car. I don't want to use up all that gas weekly, and she can share the load of driving. She has had no problem driving herself when it's for fun, on her own, or with her friends. I will see if she'll let me take the little guy and rehome Kitty with a reasonable and responsible family member or friend until I get a new place. Either way, pretty sure I'm done with the relationship since she kept trying to guilt trip me all through yesterday. Not the jerk, she sounds exhausting. I've been around people like that before. They suck the life and energy right out of you. OP, I'd rethink this relationship. It's not just about plates and cups. You either need to have a deep conversation or you'll end up resenting her. Not the jerk, but staying with someone that decides to involve the court of public opinion and airs her complaints to make you look bad? Is that person going to have your back when you need them? Karen roommate expects me to clean up after her. So I, 20 female, have been living with my current roommate, 19 female, in a 2-bedroom apartment for the past year while attending college. She and I got along well for the most part, have similar interests, and split costs evenly, at least at first. After a couple of months, she was unable to pay for her share of groceries. I covered her half a couple times, being sympathetic towards her situation. However, this has since spiraled into her expecting me to pay for all of the groceries every time. I have offered to help her find a job, to which she refused. On top of this, she routinely eats all of the snacks I buy for herself. Now this, she only washes the dishes she uses when she needs them again. At this point, I've been buying all of the groceries for months and have started to buy less because I need to save money for tuition. Because of this, she cooks less and instead orders out, only for herself, which is fine but important to note. Instead of using the money she spends on takeout for groceries, so the dishes just sit there for weeks and smell awful. Yes, I could wash them myself, but between my job and schoolwork, as well as all of the other cleaning jobs around the apartment that she now refuses to do, I just can't bring myself to do yet another thing she said she would do herself. I let her know, as politely as I could, that I couldn't handle her responsibilities on top of my own and thought the issue would be resolved. I have resorted to only cleaning my own room, the shared bathroom, and the dishes I personally use, instead of cleaning the entire apartment, including her room and the living room area she spends most of her time in. Now I spend what little time I am at home locked in my room because the entire apartment is trashed. I mean, it smells disgusting, and there's now a fruit fly problem because of it. She confronted me about this, asking why I don't clean or buy enough groceries for both of us anymore, and I'm honestly fed up. I told her that she can clean up after herself and pay for her own groceries. Now she's upset with me, still refuses to pull her own weight, and claims that she is overwhelmed and depressed. I also suffer from mental illness, and I understand that they can be debilitating and that she may not be meaning to take advantage of me, but I don't think that's a valid excuse for her to walk all over me and the kindness that I've shown her. I gave her the number to the student counseling service just in case and offered to listen if she wanted to talk, but I personally feel like she's using this excuse as a cop-out to get more favors out of me. I still haven't cleaned her mess or bought more groceries, and I'm still mostly in my room, but I'm at my wit's end and cannot physically or emotionally handle this behavior anymore. Am I the jerk?
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.